So Gabby has brought us together to do a quick chat on security, covering off how amazingly secure Renti is, but also just, a few security tidbits. So for those of the Renti customers that don't know, this is Matt, the man, the myth, the legend, the one behind the amazing software that is Renti. So I guess let's start off really quickly by just giving a few thoughts on security, the state of security, where Renti fits in, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, definitely. I think security is one of those things that has definitely become a lot more prevalent, at least over, the last few years as we definitely go online, particularly during COVID. We're all, everyone's working from home on their own devices and using this and that, as opposed to the sort of traditional sort of sitting in office. So, particularly as we move to very much an online world, it's more important than ever to try and, keep information security, particularly, there's lots of information that you hold as part of your job as a property manager.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have to look too far to look at a few instances recently where, things have been leaked, and it really is one of those things that you hope you never have to deal with. But it is one of those things that if you just make a minor mistake, it can really damage, the security and identity of people, which you obviously can't take very lightly. So I grabbed this password strength rubric here.
It's always an interesting one. People with passwords. Probably the biggest tip I always like to point out to people is if your password is stuck to a sticky note on your computer, don't do that. That is not a good idea. It's actually quite interesting why you bring that up, Drake. Just around probably how most sort of data breaches or security breaches occur. I don't actually know the exact percentage, but a good majority of them happen due to what we call social engineering. So things like, someone calling you up and going, hey, I need to access, I'm from IT, what's your login, that type of thing. But all these other little bits that we'll speak about definitely, in addition to being very careful of that aspect of it, obviously help you with that as well.
Yeah, and another really common social engineering move is to email a new start of a business and say that the boss needs $1,000 worth of online gift cards, and he's in a meeting and he needs it immediately. So they get the new start to go buy all these gift cards, and then that money's instantly gone. It's actually happened a couple of times recently in Auckland as well. So it's,
I know someone who had his boss email him and ask for $120,000 to be transferred into an international bank account in Hong Kong. They dealt with a lot of international companies, but let's just say they didn't get that money back, like it was insured. But social engineering aspect there. So generally, if it's in gift cards, probably not.
Yeah. I mean, it can be, in a certain, circumstance, it can be really believable as well, right? And that's what they're counting on.
Yeah, that's probably the most common thing to watch out, particularly things that have come via email or message, never ever, or even from a tenant particularly too, might want to find out someone else's information that they shouldn't. Always worth giving them a call, verifying that they are who they say they are. I generally work on a no trust principle. So from the get go, you shouldn't trust that any email is from who they say it would, and just pretend like they're any person on the street. They're asking you for your login. Probably better check out who they are and actually don't share logins in the first place.
So this password rubric here is quite interesting. So basically, it's the number of characters on the left here versus what's the password made out of. So numbers only, uppercase or lowercase letters, uppercase or lowercase letters mixed, and then uppercase, lowercase, and numbers, and then adding symbols to all of that. So as you're going to the right, you're getting more and more secure. So basically what this is it's based on a brute force sort of entry, right? So as you were mentioning actually before we started this call, typically a lot of, products like Renti and stuff will have a brute force pathway or gate on them so that you can't try password a million times. But if you get past that and you try and upload a million passwords, this is how easily it can be hacked. So if you've got 3 numbers as your password, it's going to be hacked instantly. And the same thing goes for basically 3 characters all the way across. And then,
effectively.
Yeah.
I guess the real world example of this actually, that people probably heard of, is quite a few years ago, there was an incident where a bunch of celebrities had private images shared online that they didn't wish to be shared. They actually, a lot of those instances came from their iCloud accounts that didn't have any protection against that type of thing, and people just tried all the passwords continuously until they got a match. So tried all the words out of the dictionary, for example, and added numbers to the end, and eventually that worked for most users. So in that case, so that was an issue that they've obviously luckily fixed, but is a really good example of what can happen if you're not careful about password security being one of many sort of tips you can take to stay secure online.
Yeah. While we're talking about passwords, obviously another really good piece of advice here is to not use the same password for everything. Now, I know even at points in my own life, I've been guilty of this, but this is no longer allowed. I'm not allowing anyone to use the same password for their banking as they use for Renti. You have to use different passwords for everything. Whether that's a list in your phone, behind a secure note, or you're using something like LastPass, which is randomly generating a 15-character password for you of all letters and numbers. It's really important that you're kind of keeping those separate so that if someone gains access to one account, they don't gain access to all accounts, right?
Yeah, which is another common sort of method of people trying to get in. It's one of those things that actually help prevent against, that sort of social engineering we were talking about earlier, where, for example, if you ask me for, my passwords, I couldn't tell you them off the top of my head. They're all locked away in LastPass, actually, which is, one of a few great sort of password managers. So if I don't know it, then it's going to be pretty impossible for me to, give it up to anyone as well, which is great. It also saves time too, because it pre-fills in your browser and that type of thing.
Yeah, Apple does a keychain as well. So that's the same as LastPass, and that's also equally
built into your computer and your phone, which is awesome.
Yeah. So what else has Gabby put on the list to talk about? Oh yeah, 2FA, really, really important. So 2FA stands for two-factor authentication, which means that a code is sent to your phone when you try and log into Renti, and you've got to put that code in. We use Google Authenticator as the app. How important is this as a security, an added security bonus?
Massive. It's probably one of the best things that you can do to make sure that your account is secure, even if someone does get access to your password. So, firstly, obviously follow all those password strength steps, and, making sure that your password randomly generated and LastPass from there. But then using Google Authenticator means that unless someone, also has your password and then physically has your device, so your phone, which is obviously, all the technology out of Apple these days with, biometrics and fingerprint scanning and all of that, that definitely prevents them from being able to access your account unless they know that code from your phone or other device as well. So that's probably one of the best steps you can take at keeping your account secure. It's pretty bulletproof, particularly with Google Authenticator as well, given it's tied to your device.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the last sort of the bit to talk about is retaining information. Now, this is something that's been a big change in the Privacy Act that's just been, it's just come into play in New Zealand. And I guess it's just best practice, really. You should never retain information that you don't need. So that's especially the case for driver's license and passport and those kinds of things. If you don't need it, you should get rid of it off your device.
Exactly. I mean, we take lots of steps in Renti and continuing to make changes to support that. I'm sure there'll be more to come probably over early next year about some changes we're making in that space. But in addition to that, I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't have it, it can't be stolen. So, what better peace of mind than being able to sleep at night than knowing that, it obviously happens. Like, I've, been through offices and stuff, not the property management space in particular, but, where people have, people's driver's licenses printed out sitting on their desk, right? Anyone to walk and take. And it I think it's about sort of having a conversation going, hey, treat every person, as I was saying, like on the phone or, like that, they might be trying to steal something, that sort of no trust principle. And it applies to the office as well. And if you don't have that information and it's not there, then no one can take it, and happy days.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice one, Matt. Well, I'll let you get back to making Renti even better than it already is. Thanks for your time, dude. And yeah.
All right. Thank you.